Perfect deck footings every time. Footings are complicated. You need to figure out where to put them, and that isn't very easy. And if you mess them up, it's very hard to make them right. What if there were a way to get perfect deck footings every time? Here's a kitchen deck project we did a few years ago. It's a second floor deck with a roof on top of it, with a lot of structure, so we ended up with 5 footings, each 2 feet square. The main deck is supported by 6x8 pressure-treated beams that are about 8 feet up in the air. It will be very helpful if the beam is in the right position, but how do we guarantee that? This is a technique I stole from Fine Home Building, which is a great magazine. If you are an advanced do-it-yourselfer, this magazine is for you. The key to this technique is putting the post bases in the right position before you pour the footings. The long board here is 2 2x8 boards that will become the rim joist for the second floor deck. It is on the ground directly under the position that it will be in when the deck is up in the air. These 2 boards are spacer boards that are the length of the joists, so they ensure that the rim joist is exactly the right distance away from the house. In the middle, there is a stake attached to the ground, so the rim joist will not move. And at the far end it is shimmed up so that the entire rim joist is exactly level. And it is also set plumb, so the sides of it are vertical. And it's attached enough so that it won't move. That gives us our reference point. Now that we have the rim joist in place, we are going to hang the post connectors from the rim joist so that when we pour the concrete, the connectors will end up embedded precisely where we want them to be. I used leftover 2x6 pieces, but you could use short pieces of post instead. These are attached so that they are plumb or vertical. Here you can see 3 of the 5 connectors, and know that they are exactly where I want them to be. I know they are directly under where the beam will be, and I've set their level based upon the top of the footing. It's all right where I want it to be, and it's not going anywhere. Then it's lots and lots of concrete, 66 bags if I remember correctly. And a few hours later we have this, 5 completed footings. We poured them just below the ground surface so that we could fill on top of the footings with gravel, and you wouldn't be able to tell how much concrete was underneath. On to posts. A post gets put into the connector, plumbed up so it's vertical, and then a joist is run from the ledger attached to the house, out to the post, and clamped to it. We level the joist, and then mark the post at the bottom of the joist. The deck will need to have a slight slope away from the house to drain water, so we move down 2 1/4 inches, a 1/4 inch per foot. The deck will have a slight slope away from the house to drain water, so we move down 2 1/4 inches, or 1/4 inch per foot, and make another mark. That gives us the top of the beam. We move down another 7 1/2 inches, the height of the beam, and that is where the bottom of the beam is. We'll repeat that for every post. Pull the posts out, cut them to proper length, and put them back up. We are now ready for the beam. Connectors are added to the top of every beam to provide a strong connection between the post and the beam. These are just sitting on top of the posts for now. You can also see that the posts have been bolted to the connectors in the concrete, so they aren't going anywhere. The pressure-treated beams were quite wet and over 100 pounds each, so I needed a way to get them up. I built a set of supports at each end so that I could alternate between ends and slowly walk the beam to the proper height. The yellow arrows point to spacer blocks on top of the connectors. This allows me to elevate the beam above the posts enough to be able to slip the middle connector in. Once that is in place, the spacers can be removed and the beams are exactly where I want them. And here's a shot of the final deck with the polycarbonate roof on top. Here's another example. Here I'm building a deck that is closer to the ground. For the upper footings, the ground is even enough that I'm hanging the connectors, Simpson EPB 44 connectors in this case, directly from the 4x8 beam. For the lower footers, there is more variation in the ground, so the beam is supported exactly where I want it in relation to the house, and I hang the connectors using short pieces of 4x4. Pour the concrete, and the connectors are in the perfect location. Add in the proper length posts, and once again, beams are in the exact position where I want them. And here's the finished deck. I hope this technique will make your deck building simpler and more relaxing.